This segment brought to you by Sure Crop, liquid crop nutrition delivered right to your farm.
We're back. Let's go to Dwayne Toews, who is with Kelly Sanders to talk about epigenetics in the beef industry.
Dwayne Toews joining you once again here on Ag AM in Kansas, and an opportunity to catch up with Dr. Kelly Sanders, Westway Feed Products, talking about something that's a little bit new to the beef industry. Tell us a little about fetal programming or epigenetics and what the hope and goal is.
Yeah, really our main goal, Dwayne, is just to try to get cattle producers to think a little bit about lifetime production of cows, basically. And when is it really important? Well, we would really think cows, the more important time of a calf's life is when that calf's born, getting him up and going, and those are really important. Weaning's really important, but there's also this time of gestation that we've learned that, you know what, the development of that calf can actually have a lifetime effect on that calf's performance, whether it's a female reproductively or in a feed yard, and how it's going to grade at the end of the day.
We think about the beef industry. For years, we've kind of gone through BRD as an example is one thing that we've kind of learned that calves that have a hard time respiratory-wise. Those ranch to rail programs have shown that we have some loss of productivity and carcass quality. But now we're really kind of stepping out here. We're going before they hit the ground. That's got to be a little bit of a test for some people to buy in, I would expect.
Yeah, but if you really go back, for about 70 years, this has been something that we've kind of known about. Really, until the 80s did we really know on the human side what was going on, and that's what kind of stimulated some research on the cattle side, and they've really been able to determine, you know what, when calves that come out of cows that are stressed nutritionally, especially that last trimester, they may not grade near as good in the feed yard, even though they performed really well. So at the end of the day, there's some dollars we're going to leave them left on the table.
I think we certainly, a lot of guys, particularly if they've been in the cattle business any number of years, anecdotally probably saw it and didn't realize it, because you talk about those hard stresses. We've had droughts, we've had winter blizzards, we've had different environmental effects that have put cows behind the eight ball a bit and calving in a lower body condition than we really would have liked them to have, and didn't always understand what the effect was.
Yeah, it's interesting. You can ask cattlemen, across the country, do you remember a set of heifers that, that you kept, and then after 2 or 3 years, there just wasn't many of them left in the herd? And usually that everybody can agree they've had that set. What usually goes back when they can go back and say, you know what, we went through some really bad heat stress, we went some bad winter, and just nutrition was really tough, and we had a hard time on them. And so it's really interesting when you talk about that. People can relate to that because they've experienced it. And so it's the question is, how do you mitigate that? Well, from an environmental standpoint, you really can't mitigate it. We can manage through those things. We can feed a little harder. We can try to have some better, places for those cows to go, maybe, and things of that nature to get out of the extreme weather. But some of them, like hurricanes, you just can't affect. But the other way of doing it is, what if we fed those cattle on a, say, year-round basis, a little bit differently, right? Is that possible to do it? And that's some of the things we're looking at, is trying to say, how can we feed cattle year-round, make that cost effective, and increase performance of the cattle, and not have these epigenetic effects?
So as the end game, obviously raising that plane of nutrition and better matching her particular needs, but are there specific nutrients or times during that gestation period that we're really trying to zone in on?
Most of the work's been done probably at the very end, the last trimester, but we do know the first trimester is really, really critical as well, just because that's when all the critical organs are being developed. The heart, the liver, the pancreas, all those different things. A lot of the reproductive organs are being developed during that time frame. So if we alter that development period, then there's particular things that, calves could have a higher heart rate. They could have enlarged aortas and enlarged hearts and things of that nature that might be affected. They could have, energy metabolism could be altered during that time. Maybe they don't perform as well later on just because metabolism's a little bit different in those cattle. But I would tell you that all 3 stages have important developmental features about them, and so we really have to be, pretty critical on how we manage those cows during gestation in all 3 trimesters.
All right, thanks to Dr. Kelly Sanders joining us on Ag AM in Kansas. Jamie, we'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Dwayne. Come back after the break for the Kansas Farm Bureau update.